This is the second study session for ACT 215. We are going to be discussing about forms of business organization. In the first study session, you have learnt about nature, function, and scope of a business organization. However, in this study session, we are going to discuss in detail about various forms of business organization that exist in Nigeria. In this study, we will be discussing about the features of a sole proprietorship forms of business. We will discuss about partnership form of business, and we are going to discuss finally about a company form of business. All the merits and demerits of these forms of business will also be discussed. So you are expected to understand them and be able to discuss them at the end of this study. What is sole proprietorship? A business that runs under the exclusive ownership and control of an individual is called sole proprietorship or single entrepreneurship. It is started through the initiative of an individual and is run with capital supplied by a proprietor from his resources or through borrowed means. The proprietor manages the business himself, he bears all the risk alone and gets all the profits by virtue of the nature of this form of organization. He has almost unlimited freedom of action to run this business. There are some features that are associated with proprietorship business. These features are single ownership, that means it is owned by one man. Another feature is own control, that means the person that owns it has absolute control over the business. The third one is own profits. Is the attraction of reaping the entire profit. It will motivate the owner of the business to strive tirelessly in order to improve and expand his business. The fourth feature is unlimited liability. The liability of the sole proprietorship is unlimited. As a result, when his business assets are not adequate for paying debt, his private properties have to be sold in order to liquidate the debt. The next feature is absence of government regulation. A sole proprietor is free from government regulations. No formalities are involved before this business is set up. The next feature is no separate entity. That means there is no distinction between the business and the owner of the business. When the owner of the business dies, the business also dies with the owner. Then the last feature is limited capital. Since capital is contributed by only one individual, it is bound to be small. Apart from the financial constraints, its inability to manage beyond a level also impairs its expansion. The size of the business unit therefore tends to be small. Now, despite all these features listed above, sole proprietorship has its own advantages. Some of the advantages are it is easy to form and dissolve. When you want to form it, you only need the decision of the owner, and likewise when you want to dissolve it, it needs the decision of the owner also. There is direct motivation through sole proprietorship business. There is absolute control. That's the third advantages. The fourth one is business secrecy. The fifth advantage is promptness in decision making. Also, flexibility in operation. There is a personal relationship between the customer and the owner of the business, and the eighth advantage is the limited regulation from the government. Now, despite its advantages, there are some disadvantages also. Some of the disadvantages of a sole proprietorship is limited capital, limited managerial skill, unlimited liability, uncertainty of continuity, inability to avail specialists, and the last one is making hasty decision. Now, the next form of business organization is partnership. Partnership is the relation between two or more persons, but not more than 20%, who have agreed to share the profit or loss of a business carried on by all of them or any of them acting for all. Persons entering into partnership agreements are known as partners and collectively as firm or partnership firm. The partners provide the capital and share the responsibility for running the business of the firm on an agreed basis. The terms and conditions of partnership are usually mentioned in partnership agreements known as partnership deed. Also, partnership has its own feature. Some of the features of partnership are: it consists two or more persons, there is contractual relationship between the partners, it is a lawful business, and there is a sharing profit. That means there must be an agreement. There must be an agreement to share the profit and loss of the business of the partnership firm. Also, there is agency relationship. Agency relationship means is the relationship between the partners is a crucial test of the existence of partnership firm. Every partner is a proprietor as well as an agent of the firm. The fifth one is unlimited liability. That means if the assets of the firm are not sufficient to meet the obligation of the creditors of the firm, the private asset of the partner cannot be attached to satisfy their claim. The sixth one is non-transferability of interest. A partner cannot transfer his proprietary interest to any person except those who are already in partnership together with them without the unanimous consent of other partners. Now, some of its advantages are ease of formation, like sole proprietorship. Partnership is also relatively free from legal formalities in terms of its formation. The second one is larger resources. This form enables the pooling of larger resources than sole proprietorship because all the partners contribute to capital of the business. The third one is combined ability and judgment. In addition to the pooling of capital resources, the partnership combines abilities and skills of two or more partners and thus ensure better management of the business. The fourth one is flexibility. Since partnership business is not regulated by any law in its day-to-day operation, hence there is flexibility in its operation. That is to say, it can change its business whenever the partners feel like. And the fifth one is cautious operation, and the sixth one is survival capacity. The survival capacity of partnership firm is greater as compared to sole proprietorship own. Now, some of its disadvantages include lack of harmony. When there is lack of harmony between the partners, the partnership firm is gone. The second one is limited resources. The third one is instability of business. The fourth one is lack of public confidence. The fifth one is risk of implied authority. The sixth is unlimited liability. And the final one is non-transferability of interest. The next form of business is company or corporation. A company is an incorporated voluntary association of persons in business having joint capital divided into transferable shares of a fixed value, along with the features of limited liability, common seal, and perpetual succession. Features of company include artificial legal person. That is, a company is an artificial person created by law to achieve the objective for which it is formed. The second one is distinct legal entity. A company is a legal person having juristic personality entirely distinct from distinct and independent of the individual person who are its member. That means the company can sue and they can sue the company. The third one is perpetual succession. A company has a continuous existence and its life is not affected by the death or insolvency or retirement of its member. The fourth one is common seal. A company, be an artificial person, cannot sign a document for itself, whereas a natural person can do. So there is need for a company to have a common seal which will bear the authority of the company. The fifth one is limited liability. Liability of members of a limited company is limited to the value of share subscribed to. Members cannot be asked to pay anything more than what is due or unpaid on the share of the company. The sixth one is transferability of share. Unlike a partnership where you can transfer share, in company you can transfer share. Members of a public limited company are free to transfer the share held by them to anyone else. Some of its advantages are large financial resources, limited liability, continuity, transferability of shares, benefits of large-scale operation, and scope for expansion and growth. While the two major disadvantages associated with company forms of business is that it is difficult and costly to form. The second one is lack of personal touch. That is, the affairs of the company are managed by professional managers. We have come to the end of this study, but before we go, let's do a quick summary of what we have discussed so far. We have discussed the meaning of sole proprietorship. We talked about sole proprietorship. We are able to discuss about company as a form of business, and finally, we discuss about the features, advantages and disadvantages of all these forms of business. You can read through your study pack to complement your knowledge about the subjects discussed in this video. Thank you for listening. See you in the next class.